Okay, I'm just gonna keep going for another 10 minutes, give you a taste of where I'm heading with this. Okay, I'm not going to go, just to say that the book and the theory of the play of formulas does a lot more with narrative materials, less with doctrine, although I do have one chapter on the narratives of the Buddha's enlightenment in the Majjhima Nikaya, in which what Schmidhausen called, and we've all been quoting, the stereotype detailed description of the path to liberation, the awakening through the 4 jhanas and 3 vijjas, is actually seen to be a narrative element. I'm not saying that that's all it is, okay? But in the way these texts are put together, and there's a narrative structure to the text, and okay, I'll leave you some reason to read the book. You can find it there, okay? And then, okay, so they're very nice examples in any case, just like the one I gave about paribhajakas, about going too early for the alms round. So I have a really nice one of Brahmin householders. I'll be talking about this at Cornell next Tuesday. But here we're going to stick with a meditative context and offer a first articulation. This is the first time I've been speaking about this in public, so I hope it's okay, because it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying this out. So but it is one direction in which I think this line of inquiry is headed, and it's actually also kind of sharing my experiences as an emerging Samyutta Bhanaka. So I'll be talking about the Salayatana Samyutta. Okay, I'll be talking about the Salayatana Samyutta. It's the first book, the 4th book of the Samyutta Nikaya. I've got about 80 some discourses in my head. It goes slowly. I'm not that young anymore. But it teaches the text in a very, very powerful way. And I'm saying this to say that I'm speaking about meditation, but I'm not sure that there's always such a strict divide between meditation and recitation. Now, we don't want to idealize meditation too much, certainly not when Bob is around. And meditative experience, that is. And so we can speak about, with the play of formulas, about how texts are composed. And I think we can also learn through the play of formulas something about meditative practice. But learning the text is already a kind of meditation, because just getting it in your mind, then you're thinking about it and you just learn it. So I don't know how, I'm just saying that there's a continuum here involved. And the method, okay, I'll say this a little later about interweaving formulas. So in the Samyutta Nikaya, you take formulas, it's a type of play of formulas. Interweaving formulas, you add another formula in, you insert another formula, or you replace a couple of words in order to draw out the significance, to help the formula say more. So there are patterns of reflection based on formulas that are meant to structure meditative observation. Again, we're seeing a method, a performative context of the early Buddhist texts, which goes beyond the text that we have recorded and works in creative ways, but these are very highly structured ways. Okay, even though I'm allowing a lot of liberty for kind of a playful application of formulas, we're applying formulas that we've learned by heart, or they are. Okay, Bob, 10 minutes is about okay, you think? Too much? Try to cut it down a bit. Okay, I'll just give you 10 would be great. Okay, so I really want to talk about it a little further in the collection, because that will give you a better idea of how I think this works. But we have to start at the beginning and say Eva me suttam. It comes rarely in the Samyutta. Every few dozen discourses you get an Eva me suttam for some reason. Maybe I'll say something about that. And then the Buddha says, Chakkum bhikkhave aniccham, yad aniccham tad dukkam, yam dukkam tad anatta. Okay, that which is, the eye is impermanent, that which is impermanent is suffering, and it goes on like that. And so a learned Suttava Arya Savako of the Buddha, he detaches, and then you get all the way to the enlightenment formula. And he'll just, so I know this was really quick, but I mean, everybody knows. So he'll go through the eyes are impermanent, suffering, and selfless. And then he'll start say, and then he'll go through the other senses, and that will be one discourse. Second discourse will be the eye is suffering and selfless, and and go through the other senses. Then the eye is selfless. And none of this says Eva me suttam, doesn't even say Savatini Danam, like at Savati or the Savati opening. No need, because he's still playing within the same text. So you get to 12 discourses here, we get them. And it's basically the same text. In the set, so the first three are the inner senses. This next three are the outer objects. Again, going through the same method, exact same text, replacing basically a few words. And then we can say that the eye is impermanent in the past and the future, and keep going with that. And then to say the second Vagga, which is actually very interesting, but its main contribution is to add the formulaic element of the asada, adinava, nisaranam, gratification, danger, and desire. So you'll ask, what is the gratification of the eye? And say it's these pleasant sensations that arise in dependence on the eye. What is the danger? Danger is that it's impermanent. That was the point about danger that we jumped earlier. Okay? Sabbhavagga is the third Vagga. And here is where I think we're really, where we can see better how the play of formulas can be a meditative technique. Okay? Sabbha, sarva, everything. So then the Buddha will define everything as the senses and their objects. Very powerful definition, very powerful philosophical point. And then in the second discourse in the collection, he'll say, I will teach you, monks, a teaching for the abandoning of everything. The eye should be abandoned, form should be abandoned. So this is the eye and its object. Eye consciousness, eye contact, and any feeling that arises depending on eye contact, whether pleasant, painful, or neither pleasant nor painful, should be abandoned. Okay, chakum, rupa, chaku vinyanam, chaku sampasso, yampidam, chaku sampassa pachaya, upajative, okay, etc. So these 5 elements, the eye, the forms, the eye, and then he'll go through the other senses, of course. The eye consciousness, the contact, and the feeling, they'll return now in a few dozen discourses. Okay, this is like the basic formula now. So we can look at how, I'm going to jump all this, okay? I'll just say that in the middle, they keep elaborating. So the fact it's like this textual elaboration, that doesn't even need to be argued. How this relates to meditation and to other collection, that's something else. There's a really interesting point here is that the Adita Suttam, which is known as the everything is burning, supposedly the third discourse of the Buddha appears here. And for like very, there these, anyhow, I can show you that, it appears also in the Vinaya. Ask me about that. I have something interesting to say if you want later. It's very interesting the way it's put together here. And then we get in discourse number 29, for some reason on Eva me suttam. I think I can explain that too. But I want to look at discourses 30 to 32. Okay, we're still working with those same 5 elements of the eye, forms, consciousness, contact, and the feeling. Okay, now the Buddha is going to teach the path for the uprooting of all conceptions. Here, Sabamanyita Samughata Sarupam, Patipadam Desisam. So a monk does not conceive himself. Bhikkhu chakum na manyati. He does not conceive. This manyati, it's like conceive, but it's conceive himself. This is the formula that whoever knows the literature may recognize it from the Mula Pariyaya Sutta, the opening discourse of the Majjhima. It's based on that formula. The monk does not conceive himself, say, as the I, in the I, apart from the I, or the I as mine. and then he doesn't, and then he'll do that. He does that for the eye. He'll do that for forms. He'll do that for eye consciousness. He'll do that for eye contact and for any feeling that arises depending on the eye contact. So here again, after in the earlier text, he said these all need to be discarded. Okay, so this is something you can, I think, a monk could sit and reflect upon, or walk and reflect upon, or even talk and reflect upon. Here's another formula that, as I understand it, guides meditation, practicing according to the scheme we've learned of this 5 elements in eye perception, call it, and not conceiving oneself in relation to them. And then, okay, there's more that goes on, and then this kind of repeats more or less in the next discourse, and then this whole manyata part of not conceiving is replaced with the classic anicca dukkha anatta formula, which also is good for meditative observation, looking at things if they're impermanent or not, and anatta or not, and all that.